So, hi everyone, welcome back to a next cloud takeaway of this month. Today we have another interesting speaker for you lined up to get started. But first, let us do some regular stuff. So, like always, I'm one of the hosts of the cloud takeaways. The other guys are not here today. You already know me. So, my name is Mike van der Graag. I work at 350 as a CTO and I'm also a Microsoft Azure MVP. But let me also thank our sponsors. Without the sponsors, we would not be here. So we have sponsors in the Netherlands called Betabit, SPS Continuïteit, Intermax, 350, and IBIS Software from Brink. So thanks to the sponsors. They really make everything possible we do for the community. So we are really glad that they sponsor us as a group as well. Like you know, we transmit our sessions live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and on Twitter. So if you have questions, be sure to be on those platforms and just comment in the chat or do a reply on Twitter. We will watch the questions and we will ask them afterwards, after the session, so that you know that as well. And after the session, we also have announcement of our group as well. So be sure to stay tuned until the end of the session. That basically brings me on introducing CJ to the session as well. CJ will do a session today for us about administrative governance and compliance in the Azure platform. So hi CJ.
Hi guys.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine. You?
Yeah, I'm fine as well. Thank you for asking. So you're excited?
Yes, very
Yeah.
much. Yeah,
Okay, that's cool. So I will give it over to you.
perfect.
Have fun with the session, and I will see you afterwards.
Perfect. Good. Hi guys, welcome. Nice to have you. Thanks, Mike, for giving me this opportunity to talk to your environment and to your Dutch community. As a fellow MVP, it's a pleasure to always speak at events and also share knowledge in my area of expertise. Yeah, I hope you guys will have fun today. Yeah, so let's start. So I hope you guys are already seeing my screen. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, so like I said, I'm an Microsoft MVP since 2021, predominantly in Azure, so PaaS, ES, and also SaaS. My favorite area is on the ES side and PaaS. Been working in the technology field for more than 10 years. Currently a cloud architect, doing some projects partly for Microsoft and also partly for my organization. And also, I'm the leader of the Azure Nigeria user group, so which basically is about similar to what Mike has. It's like where we share knowledge and share ideas to communities in West Africa, predominantly Nigeria. I'm from Nigeria. I've been living in Netherlands since 2006. I have a great passion for cloud computing and also sharing knowledge and as well learning from people and on their own way experiencing the cloud, user stories and things they would like to discuss. Yeah, and technology in general. So these are my LinkedIn handle and as well as I have a YouTube channel. So today I'll be talking to you guys on how to administer governance as well as compliance in Azure. So I did need to manage my time. So because you guys are having your break time and also in this section. So basically, I'll talk quickly, go to how to configure subscriptions, look at Azure policies, how to set that up, and also configuring RBAC, so the role-based access control. So you guys in the cloud area knows what role-based access control is. Yeah, and if we have time, we can show some lab as well. So basically, first, what is compliance and governance? So basically, in all we do in the cloud, in everything in the technology, there must be kind of accountability and balance. So And we ensure this in our environment, whether on-prem or in the cloud, through configuring or administering compliance and governance. And in Azure, that comes down to policies, which goes from a subscription level, as well as can go on also on the resource group level, and then it trickles down to the resources below. So depending on the kind of subscription you have, so whether it's like a pay-as-you-go or free subscription or enterprise agreement license, uh, you have to apply policies. So, and that's kind of a prerequisite to have in place. So, also implementing cost management. So, cost is very important. Most people think that the that the cloud is cheap. No, it comes with a cost, and it's something you need to manage. And you can manage that and then feed the reports in terms of using tagging. So tagging principles, you can use tagging to get resource costs, use usability in terms of resources, cost center and department. Yeah. So identifying kind of the regions where Microsoft operates. So basically, Microsoft have over 60 regions, which covers over 140 countries. And you have to set your policies and governance based on the location and where your users are. That way, you can leverage more. Be aware that most of the regions are independent, as well as you have to find kind of a region where you can have high availability to, and also where your users is, and that way you can set the governance and compliance to that area to have a kind of a high throughput, and then implementing your subscription. So, or based on the tenants you have, so the tenants in place, you have to now address kind of a subscription level with Azure AD, and then a logical unit of Azure service that is linked to the Azure account. So you have, like, for instance, an Azure account, you have the dev, and also you have the test, and also the production environment. So most especially to apply governance, say from your dev, is required, because that way you can easily move things to the dev and to the test and also to the production. That way you don't have to do like extra work in implementing governance or compliance. So there are many ways to obtain subscriptions. You can use like pay as you go. You just use a credit card and then get a subscription, or you can use like a free tier. Microsoft offers kind of $200 kind of, and also do know that some things, even when the amount you exhaust the amount, most things are still free to be used. And also you can also get the enterprise, the EA customer license. So this is predominantly used by companies. So that way it goes more on consumption, and the agreement comes with an SLA you have with Microsoft. You can also obtain from resellers and also partners as well, Microsoft partners. So, like I said, the free subscription comes with like includes a $200 credits, which you can use first for 30 days, and then that's it. Also, you can use the pay as you go, or you can use the CSP, so the cloud the solution provider, or you can use the enterprise, so the EA, the agreements with a new license and software assurance, with the software assurance that comes with it, or you can use the student, which includes $100 for 12 months. But then you have to verify that you're a student, of course, to access it. So in implementing cost management, normally, like I said, I mentioned earlier, you can use like a tagging mechanism to manage costs. So to get like dashboards on usability on your cloud resources. Often you can get like a chart, beautiful chart like this that tells you, okay, what is the actual cost now used, and what the cost will be going forward. And also looking back on your usability in the past months, what have you used and the amounts, and then give you a kind of a projection. That way, you could now create budgets and also manage, get a grip on your costs, and then review the recommendation given. And these dashboards that you can easily export easily, and then you reuse it within your team for management purposes. Yeah, so tagging, like I said, is kind of a way to get a governance to what's being done in the cloud, and then for reportability, you can easily use tags to report on cost management or usability, or to get an insight of which team, which organization is using what in Azure Cloud. So it kind of organizes your resources kind of in taxonomy, and it consists of a name value pair, and then you can use it for billing purposes. So you can apply cost savings, for instance. Uh, First, you have to use like a Azure credits. So you get like a credit benefit to allow you to do your developments and test new solutions. Or you can use Azure hybrid benefit. So for Azure hybrid benefit means that, say you are using Microsoft license or Windows Server license in on-prem, you get a credit, a benefit in using Azure. Azure reservation. So you have like a reserved instances. For instance, Microsoft for like 3 years. I do think now they have like a in months as well. You can buy like instances upfront, and then the price is locked, and then you can use it upfront. Also, how to check save costs is also to use low cost locations and regions to run your applications on Azure. So we'll go next to configuring Azure policies. Get this out. So basically, first thing, just to create a management group, and then further you have to implement Azure policies. Uh, you now create Azure policies, define the policy, uh, create definition, initiative definitions, and then the scoping of the initiative definitions. Then the most important thing also is to determine the compliance, and the compliance comes in different forms. So, for instance, based on the environment or the industry your company is, you have to define compliance based on that. There might be extra compliance. Say, if you're working in the banking sector, there should be like extra things, control or compliance, which is specific to your organization. You can also create that and put it as a part of your actual policies. Yeah. So, firstly, the management groups comes above the subscription. So you have a provided level of scope above the subscriptions, and then that scope will target kind of the policies and the spend budget across subscriptions, and that is inherited down the hierarchy. So you could see it trickle down. So these are the subscriptions, and then the management group, and the policies you define here will now trickle down to the uh, to the subscriptions here. So basically, that's how its policy definition works. I do believe you can also set governance on the subscription level. So you have like management group level, subscription level, you have resource group level, and also resource level. So basically, you can use for implement Azure policies, you can assign and also manage policies. Uh, uh, then you can also run evaluation and scan for non-compliant resources. So the advantages is that that way you can easily enforce on and also apply policy at scale, and also do remediations. So so kind of the use cases can be like allowed resource types. So where you can specify the resource type that your organization can deploy. That could be a policy definition. Also allowed visual machine skills. So you could say specify which set of visual machines based on the skills that your organization can deploy. And also allowed locations. You can say, okay, if your organization is based in Netherlands, Amsterdam, you can say, okay, we're all gonna use resources only in the regions, um, not Europe region, or you could say you could use resources only in the zone, so the Amsterdam zone, so the data centers that is running in the zone level, or in the also in the data center level, also in the region level. And also policies could require tag and its value. So enforce a required tag and its value. So whenever somebody is using a resource, and if he or she cannot tag it, that resource is out of scope. Yeah. And also next is another use case is to use like Azure backups should be enabled for visual machines. So you could create a policy, enforce authorities to enable for backups for visual machines, and that we could not get updates if Azure backup service is enabled for all visual machines. So next is to create national policies. So like I said, you create a policy definition, create initiative definition, then scope the initiative definition, and determine the compliance. So that goes initial definition, policy definition, and then this applies to resources. So this is the lowest granularity. So resources could be visual machine, storage accounts, also could be say for key votes, all those kind of resources in Azure. So this basically how to create a policy kind of. So policy definition has a JSON format. So you have like your subscription, define the location, and then also policies. You can also pull policies from GitHub as well. And then you have now scope the policy rules which you want to apply. So in creating initiative definition, you have to include like one or more policies. As you can see, name policy definition, to specify naming convention, and also to policy to allow resources to create in certain regions. So these are policy definitions. These are two policy definitions. Yeah. So next is the scoping of this initial definition. So you could see the policy goes on the East region, policy assignment, and also applies to the subscription you're using. So the scope Visual Studio Enterprise. So that's kind of subscription you have, and you could see have like already two total assignments, and the initiative assignment is two as well. Then you can now assign the policy, and then optionally you can now select resource groups for that, which can be optional. Now you have to determine compliance. So basically, compliance is broad. It depends on. So, for instance, you could use Azure Monitor could give you kind of a guide, or Azure Advisor could give you kind of a guide on which compliance you must apply, and which compliance that is not necessary, because this compliance affects kind of overall resource compliance score. So the resource compliance score, you could see that 159 out of 162 resources are compliant. And there's one non-compliant initiative. And then likewise non-compliant policies and 3 non-compliant resources. So basically, the more your resources are compliant, the better your cloud posture. And that's what you have to aim for. So Azure policies, so creating the Azure and assigning an initial definition, you have to check for the compliance and check for the remediation task. And then you can next remove your policy and initiatives. So the next lesson is on how to configure role RBAC, the role-based access control. So in a nutshell, RBAC is a way how we manage authentication and authorization. So basically, you want to give access to those who need access to a resource group, to a resource, or to a subscription. So that way, you and also RBAC could be users, service principals, yeah, all those kind of things. So you could, for instance, so you can have like a service principal or AD group. Let's say, okay, this AD group, I want to grant it a contributor right to a resource group. Or you could say, okay, I want to grant a service principal a, a ownership right to a resource group, a subscription, something like that. So Robic provide kind of a fine-grained access management on resource in Azure. And is this built on the Azure Resource Manager segregate duties within your team? And that's basically to segregate, you most wanted to segregate duties and stuff like that, and to checkmate and balance. And the rule of thumb is to use least privilege. So in that least privilege, you only grant access, only the amount of access an individual, a user, a service principal, an AD group needs to perform their job. So as a user, you only grant only the amount of access a person needs to perform his job. Say, for instance, let's put it in a context. So you have like uh, somebody who's gonna configure a VNet, a subnet, for instance, do networking things on a resource. You could say, okay, I'm gonna give you only a networking contributor right, for instance. Say you have like a management person who wants to check on costs on a resource group or a resource. You only give he or she a reader right on a resource or a resource group. And this is least privilege. You're not gonna give somebody who just need to see the cost users overview a contributor right because that's SS. So the role definition is kind of a collection of permissions that lists the operation that can be performed. So the country, for instance, you could see we have like an owner. It's kind of it's a type of RBAC, contributors on RBAC, and reader. So these are the three major RBAC we have in Azure. So if, for instance, you have a contributor. So these are the contributor definition. So this is the kind of and this is built behind in Azure, and that's the specifications of it. And this is built in. Also, we also have like custom role definitions. So like your reader support tickets, visual machine operator. So the creating of a role assignment is kind of a process of binding a role definition to a user group or service principal, like I said before, and at a scope for the purpose of granting access. So you have a kind of a security principles. So there are security principles, user group, so AD group, like I mentioned, service principle. These are all security principles. You define a role assignment and then the role definition and in the scope. So the scope, these are all levels. So you have to now apply scope based on the level you want, whether management group, subscription, a resource group, or resource scope. So say in a practical terms, you just want somebody to access a resource. You have to apply a user wants to access a resource. You just need to give him, say, he or she, let's say he or she wants to create a virtual machine on this in a given resource. You only give him access RBAC, apply RBAC for this user only on the resource in question. Could be VM, could be resource, could be a storage account or a keyboard. So next is comparing Azure RBAC roles to Azure AD roles. So the Azure AD kind of offer two kind of roles. So for instance, Azure RBAC roles, you manage access to Azure resources. AD roles manages access to Azure AD objects. And scope can be specified at multiple levels. Yeah. And for AD roles, scope is at the tenant level. So what is tenant level? Tenant level is like what you apply on the tenants affects kind of the resource. So a tenant is the highest level. Say you have like an organization that is using Azure subscription, and on that you apply like AD roles, and that goes on the higher level. And for the Azure RBAC roles, role information can be accessed in Azure portal. You can also use Azure CLI, PowerShell, ARM templates, and REST APIs to apply that. Likewise, for the Azure AD roles, role information can be accessed in Azure portal, Microsoft 365 admin portal. You can also use the Azure AD Active Directory portal. You can also use Microsoft Graphs. Yeah, it's Azure Active Directory PowerShell for Graph. Yeah. So applying an RBAC authentication. So basically, you have an Azure AD admin role, so it's a global admin, and you have an Azure Active Directory tenant. So on the root level, you have global admin. The global admin as, assigns owners, users, RBAC. And the Azure RBAC role say owner, contributor, reader access. So the global admin access can assign these kind of roles to other individuals in the organization. And that goes could apply on the root management group level and the management level. And then on the subscription and the resource group at the resource level in Azure. So that's basically how it works, authentication parameters. So in determining Azure RBAC roles, so RBAC role in Azure, say for instance, the owner. The owner has full access to all resources and can delegate access to others. The contributor can create and manage a different type of resources, but he or she cannot give access to other people. The reader can only see Azure resources, say for instance, the management team or say somebody who wants to check on cost, usability, you can access give him the reader rights. So now we also have the user access administrator, and this person manages user access to Azure resources. Demonstration Azure RBAC. Yeah, they locate the access control blade. So in Azure portal, then next you can review role permissions, add a role assignment, and then we can also explore PowerShell commands. So let's go to lesson 04, model, the model lab also. So I have kind of a scenario. So to improve the management of Azure resources in control, so you have been tasked with implementing the following functionality. So using management groups for the control source Azure subscription, granting user permissions for submitting support requests. So this user will only be able to create support request tickets and view resource groups. So you have the first task to implement management group. Task 2 is to create custom RBAC roles, and task 3 to assign the RBAC roles. Yeah, so this architecture in place. Basically, on the task 1, you can get on the tenant group level. So you have like a resource group. Now you also have the Azure subscription, and you have the default Azure AD tenant, custom roles, the custom role definition, so JSON, and then the contributor is requesting for a contributor right, and then this is passed through to achieve the said task. Lab 2, manage governance via Azure policy. So the lab scenario is like to improve management of Azure resource and control. So you have been tasked with implementing the following functionality. So you need to implement tagging on resource groups, include only infrastructure resources. Ensure that only proper tagged infrastructure can be added to infrastructure resource groups. And then the next is to remediate any non-compliant resources. So first, you create and then give tags via the Azure portal. Task 2 to enforce tagging via Azure policy, and then task 3 is to apply tagging via Azure policy. So this kind of architecture work with what we want to achieve. So you have the storage accounts. First to define role, value, the role, name the role. So the tagging name is role, value, the tagging infra, and applies to a resource group, cloud share storage. Task 2 is to require a tag and its value on the resources. So the tag and its value. So there's the tag, row name, tag name, row, value is infra. And then further is task 3. So that's basically my presentation. So I could have gone deeper, but then I was just cautious about the time and to let you guys to enjoy your lunch as well, and for me to enjoy my lunch as well, because it's a work day. So if there's any question, let me know. Then I could take your questions, and yeah. So Mark, that's it from my side. I don't know how much time.
Yeah, thanks, CJ, for your presentation. I hope everyone enjoyed it. And I think it was also very clear because we do not see any questions or comments in the chat. So
Okay.
thank you again for your session. And hope to see you someday soon as well.
It's a pleasure.
Maybe we can speak up in the Netherlands together and have a cup of coffee or something else.
That'll be nice.
So thank you, and
Take care.
Take care as well. And for us, if we look at the Dutch Cloud Meetup, we still have a few things to share with you. So if you would like to speak at one of our online sessions, maybe our in-person sessions as well, just use our CFP, scan the QR code, fill in your session and your session information, and we will give you a spot online or maybe in person. If you would like to speak in person, that's also possible, of course. So I also want to thank again our sponsors, of course, because without them, we would not be here. So I will name them once again for you guys. I think you already know them, but it's Betabit, SPS Continuïteit, Intermax 350, and EB Software from Brink. And that basically brings me to a specific announcement for our Dutch Cloud Meetup group we have here in the Netherlands. So we have 2 sessions coming up already for the new year. So we want to start the new year with a very good presence as well, online and also in person. So the 31st of January, we will have an in-person event in Rotterdam, the Netherlands. So if you live in the Netherlands or happen to be in the Netherlands at that time, be sure to visit us. So we will have a talk from Barbara Forbes and also from Erwin Staal. So that would be a very interesting evening for us as well. And next to that, we are also scheduling an online cloud takeaway again for your lunch, of course. with Michiel Hammes and Twan Coat, and that will be in January. My guess is at this point it will be the end of January, but we do not know for sure yet. That basically leaves me with thanking you for being here. I hope you enjoyed your lunch, or maybe still are going to enjoy your lunch. Be sure to eat something, of course, and I hope to see you next time. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.